Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream, and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy, edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hello! How's it going? Happy Saturday. If it's your morning, good morning. It's late morning here. How's it going? Let me know if everything sounds okay. I was working with someone for 2.5 hours last night on my mic and alert issue. And I'm really thankful to say I am not crazy, that this was a weird issue. So I fixed the mic thing. We had to work around, which is great. It's a lot easier now, again, like back to the way it was. But I can't fix the alert thing. And now I can't even, yeah. So I may miss alerts, I'm sorry. So anyway, I'm Sarah, and today I am sewing part 2 of the 1940s New England dress by Decades of Style, and this stream is sponsored by Hearts Fabric, which means that they sent me the project. They sent me the fabric, all the notions, the pattern. Decades of Style chipped in and sent me the pattern, and I sew it up, make videos, and then I send it all back to them. So this is a really great low-key way to sponsor me without paying me. I mean, payment's great, but getting all these different projects is super great for all of us, because maybe we would never have known about this garment until they sent it to us. And Hearts is really great about sending us a variety of things, and they're really good at picking out fabric. And they have a really great selection of fabric, and there's a code on the screen right here if you want 10% off your order. They're really nice about that. So, hey Walter, how's it going? All right, so today we've made a lot of progress. This is actually, for all the little details on this dress, it went together really fast. We made a lot of progress the other day, and I was able to try it on. I don't know if you saw on my Instagram stories, and it fit me really good. Right, Ray? I know. At one point, I could tell he was so bent on fixing that issue. Hi, Hannah. How's it going? And I said, you're not responsible for fixing this. Like, you don't have to go your way. He's like, well, yeah, but I'm at this point where I'm like, what is going on? He even replicated, like, he did a whole new alert box on his stream, and he got the same issue. So there could be a Streamlabs bug, and I'm just the first to notice it or something. Or I'm the only one, like, few of us are getting it. So anyway, yeah, so we made a lot of progress on this. The button and buttonhole, I really want to try it on to see, are buttonholes necessary here? I think if you had a big head, or maybe a style of hair that you wear a lot, that you might want to be able to easily get through the hole here, then you may want the buttons and buttonholes. Oh, there's a bird right there. To open it, but it's only going to open it a little bit. So what I did when I tried it on and off was I pinned right here and made the neckline as small as possible, where the button is actually like over here. So you still get a little bit of expansion when you're putting this on and off. So I'm going to probably not put buttonholes on here. I'm just going to sew the buttons on, mainly because I feel like the buttonhole is an opportunity for, the fabric. You're just putting a hole in the fabric, even if you're finishing it. So I think it'll last longer without it. And also, you're not utilizing it. And you can always go back and put a buttonhole in if you want, if you find you need it. So that would be my suggestion. And same down here. This doesn't even drop down. So it's fully fake. So you could just put your buttons on this little waist. So this is the waist seam right here. I have the camera zoomed in a bit. And then there's these little pockets, which are pretty small. The opening is pretty small. You're basically putting something really light in there, or car keys, or peanut M&Ms. Those are your options, you know. So the only thing I did off camera today was I did overlock this side seam, and I'm going to do an invisible zipper on the side seam. I have to admit, it's been a long time since I've done one where it's closed above the invisible zipper, so it'll be an adventure, right? I feel pretty confident about it. And I love watching Angela Wolf's invisible zipper YouTube tutorial. It's really great. And so I take a lot of how she does it from that. Just full disclosure, you know, why not, right? And this is different because that tutorial shows you how to put an invisible zipper as if it's going to the top of something. And this is going to start, you know, probably more like right here and go down the waist. Yeah, like down here. I'm looking for my notch, but it's somewhere around here. The pattern calls for a 9-inch zipper. I'm going to use one that's longer. I suggest using one that's longer than that. I think you need a 9-inch opening. But with invisible zippers, they're a little easier to get accurate, and you have a lot more forgiveness if you use a longer zipper than you need for your opening. And so that's what I would recommend, is maybe just buying a longer zipper. That way you don't have to like hit it perfectly at the beginning and end of the zipper. Because remember, the zipper is open at the top, whereas this won't be. So, you know, it's like a way to wind up to it. Hi, Ray. Did I say hi to you? How's it going? I did, yeah. So anywho, I'm going to first do the sleeves. The next step in the instructions is actually to put the zipper in, but I'm just going to warm up a little bit. I've streamed so much this week, and I've been on camera a lot, and then I was working on this help thing last night with my computer until 8 p.m. here. Yeah, so that's like end of the week stuff, right? So I'm going to do the sleeves first, which are quite involved, as my warm-up. And I'm going to sew the long sleeve version, which has a cuff and a placket. Now in this one, they have you sew it probably the way it was originally sewed, with a facing around the slit there. Yeah, right, Ray, exactly. She guns right through samples. Well, that's interesting. I like that expression. And I know how we all felt a little bit, you know, about doing this little facing here. And so what you would do is you would finish 3 sides of your facings. And I rounded, this is the only other thing I did off camera, is I rounded that little rectangle of fabric. It looks a little wonky. I just rounded it because I'm going to overlock it. And so what they say to do is finish these 3 sides, this short side, these two long sides here, and then you sew your placket on there. You sew the slit, which I'm going to show you how to do, and then you slip stitch, meaning you hand sew this to the garment. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlock this edge. I'm not cheating there. The only thing I've cheated on is cutting off the corners, and then I'm going to probably top stitch it down with the machine. So, but we could slip stitch it. And then I'm going to do the other placket with binding, the way we probably all really like. So we're going to have 2 plackets on this garment. Hey, Sydney, how's it going? You're really funny, Ray. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to overlock this, because it's kind of tricky to do this kind of curve when you're turning your serger in this tight of a pivot. And when I do it, you know, I come down with my serger, bzz, 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 and then I actually pull really hard to get this to turn like this. And I pick up my presser foot as I go and keep going. I pause. I don't just pick up my presser foot and sew. And that's how I'm going to get around this. So I just wanted to show you that. And then I'm going to do it on camera though too. So anywho. Oh, I didn't set up my iron cab. Well, hello there. Let's see here. Here it is. Oh, there's the microphone. Okay, good. Sorry, I gotta zoom this in a little bit. I set up all my others. And I think the color's okay and everything. All right. I think I'm going to try using a French seam on the underarm of the sleeve. Let's move the iron over, and I'm just going to, this is for the invisible zipper later on, and I'll tell you about that as well. It's a little hard to see my serger over here. I know that. I'm sorry about that. Actually, this is really bad, isn't it? Could I get this over here a little more? I didn't set this up to use the serger today. I didn't think I would be. I'm going to do that. So remember, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to put this through the machine, and then when I get to about right here, I'm going to actually pulling this towards me. And the reason I'm pulling it is because I really want to force this edge to turn this way. And you need to like remember where the pivot point is of where it needs to go through the machine to stay on this edge, because this is kind of a tight curve here. And I'm going to pick up my presser foot as I go. All right. So I would practice on one, to be honest. I'm going to shorten my stitch length as well, so it's not jumping forward so fast. Makes your stitches denser too. All right, so this is normal, and now when I get about here, I'm pulling right here. And now I'm going to lift up my presser foot, release the tension right here. Line this cut edge up back to my knife. Do it again. See how I'm pulling? I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't see. You can't see anything. You can't see anything. Good enough? You think so? I don't know about that. All right. It is, someone said in the stream yesterday, or on Thursday, that it is 100% linen. Hey Donna, how's it going? How to use big spool tension for the brother machine. I have no idea what that means, Stephanie. I'm so sorry. I need more information. Big spool tension for the brother machine. I don't have a brother machine either. But if you're working on your tension, practice, just like trial and error, and make sure you identify if it's the upper thread or the lower thread. If it's the lower thread, you have to adjust on your bobbin case if it has a bobbin case. If it's got a drop-in bobbin, you do it differently. I don't know if that's helpful at all. Okay. I know a lot, but I don't know everything by a long shot, especially with machines. Machines are, it's a big world. All right. We'll say, doing timestamps. Doing timestamps here. Okay, yeah, so you do this little placket first. So my fabric, it's pretty hard to tell left and right, or more, I should say, not left and right, what side of the fabric is which. So you need to make sure you have a left and a right when you're done. So I'm going to flip this up, and I'm going to tell myself out loud right now, you're working on the top of the fabric for each placket. This is the right side up. So then that way I know. I hear myself say that. Right, Ray. the big thread spool. I need I need a lot more information, Stephanie. How to use the big thread spool for a brother machine. I'm sorry. Like I don't want to say this in a patronizing way because I don't mean it that way. I need a complete sentence. Like I need, what are the things you're looking for? So maybe I can help you out. I hope that doesn't sound patronizing. Oh, maybe I'll actually flip these over because I have the pin on the other side. Flip them both. Make sure you keep your left and your right. You'll be really disappointed if you do all the work to the sleeve and you have 2 lefts or 2 rights. Right? Am I right? Okay, so, yeah. So the problem with this is that you really need these markings on this piece. So I'm just going to center this little placket under here. You know? Really, these kinds of markings aren't that helpful on the sleeve. They're more helpful on this piece, but you need them on the sleeve so you know where to put it. Off to forage. Find something good, Michelle. I'm trying to make sure I've got this kind of centered, you know. I feel like if I center this over this placket opening, so there's a imaginary triangle right here. Here's the 2 legs right here. Oh, you extra and put behind the sewing machine. Oh, yeah. So what's your question about that? Sounds like you know. Yeah, so mine on my home machine is like this weird little snap-on thing. It's pretty simple, but it is kind of like you look at it and you're like, what the heck is going on with this thing? And it is basically so that a spool can sit vertically on top of my home machine. And it just kind of goes like this, kind of hugs it. I don't know what the brother's like at all. So I'm trying to get this, you know, centered, this little facing, which means I'm going to have a little bit hanging down there. Like that. The tension. Oh, and how do you get the tension? Do you just thread your machine the same using that spool holder? All it does, I think, hopefully we're talking about the same thing. If you're using your extra spool holder, then you just thread your machine normally once it's on there. I need this edge lined up right here. I'm hoping that, so basically the other side's going to be my right side right now. So I got to remember that when I go to my other sleeve so I don't get in a pickle again. Yeah, that's true. Ray's got a good point, Stephanie. Do they have anything in your owner's manual? And if you don't have your owner's manual, you might try Googling it because I find a lot of them online now. How's this camera angle? Do you want to be closer? All right, so this is the first dart leg. I'm going to call it a dart, but it's a slit. So I'm just going to go straight to this point right here. You're just basically like drawing a triangle on your garment with thread. Pivot. There we go. See that? All right, we're gonna cut this all the way into that point. And then once we do the other one, we're going to iron the heck out of it. We're going to turn it to the other side, to the wrong side, press it, and get a nice clean edge there. So let's actually clip this even more. Get right into the thread. Try when you pivot your point right there. Don't let the triangle point do this. Try and get it like this so that you can cut all the way up to the stitches. I'm pretty close there. Like I'm not sure how much I would trust this, to be honest. But because I'm going to fold it and press it and then stitch it down, maybe there won't be any tension. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for being the greeter. That's what chat's for, right? Okay, so let's do our other one. I wish Penny was here because I know she's wanting to tackle a placket and a sleeve. Is this project for the tag inside the sleeve for rolling up the sleeve? This is going to be a cuff. So this is just kind of a, so it'll look like this when it's done, basically. And so you can see there's no stitching on the outside of that slit. So you would normally hand stitch it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do one with binding actually too. But it's just a long sleeve version of the dress. It's just a one way to do it. You're thinking of the tab that you would hold up a rolled up cuff. Penny is here. Oh, I didn't see Penny. Hi, Penny. All right, so this is my right side. And this is my right side on this one here. All right, so with the binding, I'm going to try not to lose any of those pens up there. I'm going to cut a straight line between these two notches here. So when you're doing a cuff with a binding hole right here, on the pattern there's usually a slit that goes straight up. Oh, she has to. Oh, okay. Thank you, Ray. I'm going to go, let's see. Am I going to go a little further? No, I'm just going to go that far. All right. So this is the right side on this one. I'm trying so hard to keep it straight that watch me get it wrong anyway. So then we're going to put the binding down. And when you do something like this, it might actually be easier to sew it from this side because you don't have 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on this slit all the way up to here. So basically that line, that triangle, so to 0 here and starting at whatever the seam allowance was down here, it's like 3/8 away there. Normally it's like 1/4 of an inch. So if you were to draw a line from here straight to the top of this, when you go to sew your binding, you want the binding to hang off. You don't want to go right up to that edge there. So I would just keep it lined up. And what I do is still pivot there, but my binding is kind of hanging off. You just do your best to maintain this a parallel seam line to that binding. It's not a big deal. Really what the big deal is that you have the same width to fold it twice and finish it. That's what you're trying to set yourself up for. All right, I'm kind of turning myself around for, okay, so this is the right side. This is this right side. All right, so I'm gonna line up those edges. And I just cut a little piece of binding, 1 3/8 inch wide, and I just cut it kind of long, right? You can kind of stretch it out a little bit. So now when you've already done your slit, this is what's great about doing the slit. Don't be nervous about that. Like if you're doing a sleeve with a placket and a slit, if you can't sew it right away, maybe wait to do that slit. But if you're going to sew it in the next couple days, slit it. Nothing's going to happen. Just do it the same on both sleeves. And then what you can do is just straighten this out like this, right? So put that raw edge lined up to the raw edge of the binding, and look, you can naturally see it pulls away from there. See, so here's the slit. Okay, Penny. This is the 1940s New England dress by Decades of Style, Stephanie. This is part 2. So if you want to watch part 1, we did that on Thursday. And there's timestamps. Woohoo! All right, so remember, this is the sleeve, the slit, right? So if you're doing any kind of shirt with a placket like that, like I think Penny's doing Fairfield, yeah, then just slit it and then pull it so it's straight. And then you can just do kind of a straight line. You see that? The stripes kind of help you see, huh? All right. I'm kind of breaking this way down just as an instructional. Okay, so I'm going to trim off this excess. We don't need that. And now let's go to the iron. And we're going to iron both of them. I think I need to get a new arm for my microphone so it doesn't make all that dumb noise, you know? Oh, okay, the folds where the pleats are. I might be able to help you still. I guess I left the autofocus on. Well, that's hecka annoying. Let's turn the autofocus off. Sorry. It'll be better for all of us. Okay. So, Penny, in my experience, when those, if you've like done your pleats, let me iron this and I can show you on here, and they're not matching your cuff, just cheat a little bit on the pleats. But let me show you a couple of things. Why is this hot? I warmed you up a long time ago. So I have to admit, when I do these, I don't even go to the iron. I just keep going. But it's going to look so much nicer if we iron it. You just got to make sure, this is why we sewed this from the slit side, that we catch that fabric, because it is really skint there with the amount of fabric. Oh, I used it on the other sleeve, Ray. Michelle, that is so me when I watch streams. I literally watch this speedrunner. Well, no, he's not a speedrunner. He does challenge runs. So he'll do like a really hard run of something, and like a game, like a hard to play game with hard difficulty settings. And he's literally doing the impossible. And I'm like, hi, how are you guys doing? And they're like, whoa, that was so cool. You know, I'm like, oh shoot, I missed it. That's when I realized, I was like, oh, I'm starting to really be into the community of this chat, you know. All right, so my seam allowance here is a little wide for this placket, and that's because, remember, this wasn't designed for this. You really want this to be this 1/4 of an inch. And look, I didn't even sew it to the notch there like I did over here. So I'm going to trim this down, and then, you know, then I'll just finish it, you know, like binding. I don't really want to call it binding, so no one's like, eek! This is a good place to do binding. I never pre-iron it, so this feels pretty great. Bias on your placket makes it easier to sew as well. Okay, so Penny. We'll pretend my underarm seam is done here, right? So you have a circle and you have your placket. So usually, if this is the back of the sleeve and this is the front of the sleeve, I'm pretty sure that's how that is. Wait. No, I think that this is going to be the back right here. Huh. Whichever one is your cuff going over the other, which is usually front over back. I think that this would be the front then. You usually turn this one, when this is sewn, back like this. All right? Then you're going to have a pleat and a pleat, or one. Usually it's one or two. But this first placket is turned back and this one's not. And then they lay on top of each other like that, theoretically. In other words, it doesn't go like this with the binding sewn and the binding sewn, right? It doesn't go like this where you see your placket. I don't know if that helps. And then I adjust those pleats to match my cuff circumference. Yes, binding and bias tape. I'm just not using pre-packaged bias tape. I made it. So I usually call it binding or bias. But binding, I mean, there's lots of terms for that. And I feel like bias always infers that it's been cut on the bias grain line. And I know a lot of people don't always use bias cut fabric to make their binding. So I do use general terms, but you can do whatever you want. I use a lot of bias cut fabric for my binding. All right, so this is the one with the facing. So see, I've turned it to the inside. This linen is really going to be behaving. Like, it's really easy to do this with this kind of fabric. You get that nice crisp look. You know, and some things like that, you know, these little irregular there. When you're doing a fabric that has a warp and a weft that are, you know, literally woven with two different colors, anytime you put a hole in something, it will pull it apart right there and you'll see the other color. So you might get that. That's why you gotta be really careful on your dart points. And then this little thing is just an irregular. See how there's black ones? I don't know if you can even see that. But can you see that there's little black and white dots occasionally? So maybe you can't even see that stuff I'm talking about. All right, so I just need to even this up right here. Now for this placket, there is no pleats. It's gathered all the way around, and I think that it meets like this. So there's no overlapping like that. It's not traditional. All right. I'm doing two different methods, exactly. You sew a little triangle top. Yeah, I love that little triangle. All right, so I'm gonna just stitch around here, and you guys are fine with that, right? Because if you guys are fine with it, I can just tell Hearts my chat made me do it. But you would, if you use the instructions, this would be a square. And I kind of personally think that this rounded edge is better. It's more organic. But I will admit that garments from this era, they weren't about organic lines. They were a little bit more about geometric lines. So maybe you'd want to be in keeping with that. I just think that what would be nicer is if this was turned under, right? And we could do that. I mean, do we want to do that? It just adds bulk, right? But we could turn this under and top stitch it. Be nice and clean finished. Let's do it. Let's see. This fabric's lightweight enough that we might be able to do that. Actually, I'm just not going to use pins. I'm going to use pins to just hold this so that it doesn't shift like this. So I have room to still fold that under. All right. The pattern only has this method, but you would leave it squared off and you would hand sew it. So I've done two things different than the pattern by overlocking it. But she says, finish those 3 edges, 2 long sides and 1 short side, any way you want. And then, sew your opening and then slip stitch it down. So you could use the serger. I'm not really cheating by doing that. I don't have any other way to finish this edge. Did I need to serge it in order to turn it under? No. Is it a lot easier? Yes. See if I can get it so that the little serging threads don't show. I might get a little point right here. See if I can get rid of it. How's the camera angle? It's not great. I kind of dimmed it because I felt like this fabric was a little bit fighting with the camera a little. You could consider this a top stitch. I consider this more of like a edge stitch. I consider top stitch to be anywhere that is decorative or just kind of a finishing. But yeah, this is also, you know, top stitch or edge stitch. Oh, don't do that. I don't want that point. I'm kind of babying it because I didn't turn it under and iron it, you know. Let's see how it looks on the other side. It's okay. Probably would be classier not stitched, right? If it were hand sewn. I'm not really known for being classy though. This little white stripe is annoying. That it's, you know, you can really see it. Let me see if I can pull it under there. Make it a little less noticeable. All right, there's one. Here's the other. Okay. It's weird that it's already ironed for me. Oh, I was going to trim this. I am going to trim it because I don't want the fabric underneath to fold. I have to admit, I also really don't want to have to take out sewing on this fabric because it's really hard to see my stitches as opposed to the weave. There we go. Let's just trim this down a little bit. See, look, that edge was getting rolled under. Since I'm not doing a regular placket, like I'm not using a pattern setup for this, it had wider seam allowance than I needed. There we go. That'll be easier. And then we get to add a bunch of darts to the sleeve cap to make that cool shape. All right, so I fold just past that line, but try and keep your stitching on to the right of your first stitching. Just kind of try and keep an eye on that. And then your stitching will land on the binding on the other side. I wasn't really thinking about that when I started, so hopefully I can get it. Right here, it's always a little tight, but remember, it's finished. It's not a high stress spot. This fabric is going to be far fiddlier to do this with in some respects than, say, like, you know, a woven cotton. And a flannel isn't hard, it's just that it's a little thicker. So if you're doing it like on a flannel fabric, this kind of thing. All right, so now we have this placket, and I like to normally the sleeve before the collar. You mean the collar of a neck? I mean, normally no, because I would probably be done with the bodice up to the sleeve and the side seam. And usually I do the side seam first as well, and then I do the sleeve. But I'm just assembling the sleeves, getting kind of warmed up today before I do the side zipper. So I am doing this sleeve out of order in the instructions. I was supposed to do the side zipper. I'm just going to assemble the sleeves, not attach them yet. Do the zipper and then attach the sleeves. And then it'll be kind of fun. Like when I get to go to put the sleeves on, they're all ready to go, you know? And I think that that's always kind of fun if you assemble the parts of your garment, like assemble the collar, but don't attach it, you know, hem the pocket, make any of your other little elements. And then you just have it ready, kind of like when you're doing ingredients when you're cooking and you do all the pre-chopping. So you have your onion in a bowl and your cilantro in a bowl and your cumin, you know, and you just got to dump it in. It's kind of like that with fewer dishes to wash afterward. Okay, so this is the right side of this sleeve, and I have a front and a back. All right. So this should be the right side of this one. And what I like to do with these plackets is what Ray was talking about with the triangle. I fold it in half and I kind of let it fall the way it wants to, but that may mean it might not be even right here. You can force it to line up, but sometimes it does make a weird pucker. Can you see that? Like my pivot point is 1/8 of an inch off of that. So I'm just going to let it fall the way it may, and then I'm going to even that up. And then I'm just going to sew straight across this, kind of making a little triangle. And then it kind of helps it fall the way you want when you're buttoning up your cuff. Oops. And you don't stitch it on the outside. You can see there's puckers there, but that's just because my machine, the presser foot folded that, right? So now it's like that. And then let's see, this is, I keep forgetting lost. This is the back. So this one goes over this one. So this is what I was talking about, Penny. So for this placket, you're going to fold this one back because this is the back of the sleeve and this is the front of the sleeve, and your cuff goes front to back, right? So I'm just going to fold this back like this. And I'm also going to even up this edge right now. Set myself up when I go to sew my cuff on. All right, so now these are ready for the underarm seam and the cuff. And then this, normally if you're doing a sleeve with a placket like this, there would be 2 pleats, right? That's what I would adjust to get it to fit to the cuff. All right, so let's do the underarm seam, and I'm gonna do a French seam with a very little seam allowance because I don't have much to work with. All right, so this was the back, right? All right, so wrong sides together. How's the camera? Do you want that brighter, you guys? Like, it looks dark on my screen, but if I make that full screen, it doesn't look dark at all. So it just depends. I guess you can turn up your brightness on certain things. Let's see if I can kind of match these stripes. Matching stripes with a French seam, there's probably a really great knack for it because you don't match it on the raw edge. Because the stripes need to match on the seam line, right? And this first stitch we're sewing isn't the seam line. It's, like halfway to the seam line. All right, and then let's do this one. How are you guys doing today? I kind of just jumped into it because I'm kind of tired. I'm into this, though. I'm kind of excited about this. I want to see it all done. I really liked everybody's reaction to it because it's such a great pattern. And I wonder if it would be cool to do it sleeveless. I honestly think the short sleeve is a little bit more modern. The whole overall thing is pretty popular right now. So in some ways, This being made in this stripe, I think it kind of lends itself to that trend. But the sleeves are going to take it away from that. Hey, Elena, how's it going? Okay, let's iron these and trim the this little rough edge here. Yeah, I love those order of operation questions that Stephanie had, like about do you do the sleeve before the collar? It just depends. But typically, yes, you would do the collar before the sleeve because you've already sewn that part of the garment. You get my rotary knife. This is my favorite way to trim seams for French seams because it's just easier. It's such a narrow little bit. I think even if you don't like using a rotary knife for cutting out garments, this would be a useful place for it. Scissors, when you have to pick up, you know, and cut, sometimes that distorts it a little bit. You want a nice parallel cut edge and try not to handle it too much so it doesn't keep getting fuzzy, because by the time I get to my machine, it'll probably be fuzzy again. But if I cut it pretty narrow, hopefully that won't bug me too much. All right. All right, so now I'm going to press it one direction, so I kind of push it to one side. Pull it. Hopefully I'm not, you know, distorting this. Let's press this. Why not? Because we like seeing it kind of early, right? Oh my gosh, Sydney. I had your daughters are much younger than mine, but I was terrible about that when I was a kid, and my mom, it just drove my mom crazy. In fact, you know what? This is kind of like two stories in one. I was so messy as a kid. It was really bad. I even had a Kool-Aid collection in my room, like all the powder in this canister, which, you know, I've told you guys about that because my mom found that out when she saw the ant trail. I would shove stuff under my bed. I mean, I think these are kind of, most kids do this kind of thing. But then my mom got remarried to my dad, and, well, you know, she got remarried, you know, and he was a firefighter. And she said, you know, she's like, Emmy, I don't want him to know what I've let you gotten away with. So can you please just stop putting stuff under the bed at least? Because that's a fire hazard, you know, and you're taught that as a kid. And so from that point on, I became a neat freak. And I'm not a neat freak now, but I became like a organizational, you know, like I would rearrange my room constantly. And I don't think that was it. I actually just think that coincides with your hormones and you're changing and you're kind of becoming your own self. And I was destined to do that no matter what, you know. But my kid, same thing. She was very messy. And I just was like, nope, I'm not cleaning her room. I'm not going to hound her about it, except there would be points, you know, where you had to. But there's been a couple of moments where it was so bad, and I finally was just like, she needs help. And so I would wait until she was gone. I just had to do it myself, you know. Like, I've done it with her a couple times, but there were a couple of times where I waited till she was, like, gone all day, and I did it, and it was a job, man. But I found, like, all my forks, the couple bowls I've been missing, you know, all that stuff, so. And she'd be so happy, like horrified that I saw everything and found things that I shouldn't have found. But then also like, oh, clean slate. I am finishing it today. Yeah, exactly. Sydney's like, I just want to sit on my kid's bed and watch this live stream while she cleans. I'm just going to sit here and be like, yeah, good job. Keep going. You're just there, the moderator. You're driving back from an antique store. Oh, fun, Elena. It lasts until you're 20. Yeah, and so now my daughter, you know, we didn't plan on her getting to live in the guest house of this house we bought. We bought the house, like it was a deciding factor to move my husband's grandmother there and out of the assisted living facility. And she's in a really good one, like a really good one, you know, but at the same time, we just were like, she doesn't have very much time left. She's 96 or 97. We'll bring her here. And it didn't work out. Like we thought the bathroom was going to be the right size, but it doesn't work out for her accessibility needs. And then the pandemic just started really getting going. She graduated high school and we were like, okay, let's just let her live there. She's not going to move or go to college or anything. And now she is like the one who has to live in there. And so she does have her moments, but she's keeping it pretty good, you know. Yeah, Elena, I know. Exactly. Yeah, Michael will walk in there. I won't. I'm like, in her bathroom too. I just can't. I'm just like, you have to clean that. And she was never allowed to have friends over unless it was clean. Well, Sydney, at least you're all in agreement over that, though. Donna, that's awesome. This morning I was going to talk to that guy some more to help me sort out. Look, I lost all but one pin. Gosh darn it. I don't want to figure out where those go again. Do I have all 4 here? I only have 3 of them here. Gosh darn it. Can I see where this one was? Oh, I can see where this one was. Yeah, I messaged him. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be at my office by 9 a.m. today. I was like in bed at 8. On this dress here, Stephanie, I already did that. Right here. Oops. I already did the whole collar. So that's on Thursday's stream. It'll be linked in this one once this stream's done. There'll be a link to part 1 there. Well, there'll be a link to my project details, and that'll have a link to either video. It was really fun to do. I kind of did a lot of finishing that you don't have to do, but I wanted to do. So there's a little bit of extra sewing, but it didn't take long. Let's see if I can find these holes. Okay, there's one. I don't really trust the pins. Okay, I need to find both holes so that I know I'm getting the right one. I think it's this one. And there's one. Thank goodness it's a linen, right? Oh, there it is. Yay! Well, I had to kind of get it at a certain angle. I think it's this one. All right. Phew. Okay, so this is the right side. So thankfully my pins are on the wrong side. All right, so let's sew these little darts here. This isn't a bust dart, so I think I'm going to do the method where I go back onto the dart to backstitch. So I'm going to go to the point of the dart, turn my machine around, and backstitch in the seam allowance of the dart. That way I don't have to hand tie 8 darts right now. You have 4 darts on each sleeve, no matter if you're doing the long or the short sleeve. Oh shoot, I've forgotten to write my timestamp down. Eek. I'm like rushing as if that's going to change anything. I can't see that. What does that say? 56 what? I need to put something white behind that. 5607. I mean, technically we're okay. Okay. I actually didn't miss any time stamps. All right. How did I do this last art? Did I do that correctly? I did, right? Like I backstitched correctly. I didn't like cheat. No, Stephanie, I already sewed the collar. I already sewed the whole first part of the dress. So this sewing is the second half. And I did it on Thursday. Past Thursday. So it's there. It's one of the recent videos. And it will say 1940s New England dress sewing part 1 or something like that. I can link it in the chat in just a second. I have to find it. Oh, I think I can find it pretty easily. Here we go. That's cutting. Hi, Barbara. How's it going? So here's part 1. Okay. Let's do my other darts here. So great. We don't have all those notches now. I'm starting and going like this way to that way so I can see my pins and I don't lose them. I can keep an eye on them. Squirrely little things. How are you, Barbara? How's it going? What are you up to? A lot of sleeve here. Does anyone remember the last time we sewed a invisible zipper? I kind of missed the point there. Let's see. And did I do it on my industrial machine? I'm pretty sure I did. Because I don't have an invisible zipper foot for either of my machines. I'm trying to think what that would have been on. You know? Amelia? That was a long time ago. Hello, Derek. Oh, chilly there. Wow. Oh, nice. Are they for you? All right, that was the last one. Oh, dokily. All right, so now we have this shaped cap. And then you still have your shoulder notch right here. All right, I'm going to press these. Uh-oh. Oh, no, Barbara. Oh, no. Dang. Bitten by another dog? I'm sorry. That sounds really stressful and unsettling. I'm pressing these towards the center. I should have probably looked at the directions to see. This looks like it could fit this way better, but it doesn't really line up well. That looks nice. Hey Terry, how's it going? How are you? Oh, cool, Derek. Well, you sound confident if you've already cut 2 of them out. That sounds like something I would do. I'm like, I'm going to copy this. It's already perfect, so what could go wrong? And then I'm like, oh, but I do want it longer here, bigger here, blah, 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 blah. And then I've changed it so much. I'm like, wait, it's not quite the same thing. Do I call this a pleat or a ruffle? Gosh, you know, I don't think they're either. These are darts. It's really interesting, huh? Look at that. Let's look at the whole effect. Look at that shaping. It's so drapey. Barbara's dog got bit by a dog. I'm sorry about that. All right. Now we're going to put in easing stitch. I'm going to put an easing stitch on the cap. Pretty sure you do that. Yep. $102.34. Oh, that's an easier spot. All right, so I'm just gonna put a run-a-line stitches between the darts. I'm not gonna make it longer. I'm just thinking about, I might do a French seam with this. I'm just gonna do this kind of, I call it an easing stitch. There's not really an easing stitch in sewing terms. Usually you're putting in a basting stitch or a gathering stitch, and this is neither, because I just want to ease in the sleeve. I don't make the stitches longer because it's not necessary, and I feel like that makes it a little harder, because then they kind of tend to gather and make the little like bumps that gathers would, little ruffles, I guess. So I just do the regular seam length or stitch length. This will also secure all of our darts. This linen makes it pretty easy though. It's very crisp. Try not to pull it either. Alright, and now I'm going to change my stitch length a little bit, and I'm going to put a gathering stitch around the hem of the sleeve here. I'm going to press my seam towards the back. I'm just making sure. Then we're going to do the cuff next. I'm going to do 2 rows. It's a pretty full sleeve. Same thing here. Oh, okay, got it. Foolhardy. No, I call it confidence. Confidence. Come on, stay parallel, Jeremy. Remember, this placket's turned under. The other one's not. Or that binding edge, not placket, but the that bound edge. All right, now we're gonna gather it up. Let's do because I went through that placket there, it's a little tough to pull at first. One is not tough to pull. Come on. Let me pull out a little bit of stitch. Maybe it'll be easier. No. Put my stitch length back while I'm thinking about it. I don't really know how much to gather it up quite yet, so I'm just going to put a bunch of gathers in here, what I think will be roughly the cuff circumference, and then we'll adjust once we have the cuff there. It's probably a little too much, but that's okay. We're just at that stage where we're kind of getting it all set up for the cuff. I have a new video for you guys too, a new uploaded video. I think I use spun poly with a poly core. Let me see. Let's see. It doesn't say. Oh, spun poly. I did both, Barbara. So one of them I did a binding placket and the other one I did a facing. So this one is the facing. So I did I curved that piece we cut and then I top stitched it down. And on this one I did binding because I know a lot of folks probably won't do that facing. You know, I'd wink at you, but I'm terrible at winking. Thank you, Michelle. It's it kind of pains. I'm just not a natural winker. I feel like winking should almost be one of those weird genetic traits like rolling your tongue, you know? Okay. All right, so those are definitely over gathered. Let's find our cuffs. And we're gonna iron the inner facing on. Let's write it on my thingy. Do you guys, if I have to do these, then we have to do them together. But we're all thankful later when we have them. Yeah, exactly. I just tried to do both, you know. Help folks out. All right, let's look at all these markings here. Match circle to sleeve. I'm not really sure what these markings are quite yet, but I'm going to interface the side without the notch just so I don't cover it up too much. And I personally like to interface from the fabric side. I know you're not really supposed to do that. I don't know. It's just for me. I don't like my iron touching this. It kind of sets my teeth on edge. I know that sounds really juvenile, but it sets my teeth on edge, and I don't like it if my iron doesn't glide, you know. And yes, I know a little bit can stick out from the edges and maybe stick to my iron, but that doesn't really happen a whole lot. This is probably also making my cuff a little smaller, unfortunately. Oops. Well, rip cuff pattern piece. Never see that again. Oh, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I said that I'm gonna blame it on chat that you guys wanted both methods, even though I'm the one that suggested it. They're so easygoing. They're awesome. They're just like they always click the box where I have them say, do you want mods allowed or not? And I probably should put two different, like, our modifications to the sizing allowed and our modifications to the sewing allowed. So, and they always say, yes, that's fine. So, you use a press cloth. That's so smart, Terry. Yeah. And I have one. I never pull it out. Why only half? You know, on this fabric, you could probably get away with interfacing the whole cuff. But it does give a really nice, crisp edge when you fold it here. You just got to be careful that you're actually folding it along there. The other reason is if your fabric's a little thicker and you interface the whole thing, when you've folded it this way, plus you have the seam and you're folding here, you know, this is the seam, you have your whole cuff, this can get really thick and it gets really boardy, your cuff. But if you like that look, go for it. You can do the whole thing. Yeah, because it gets folded in half. And this, I will put the interfacing to the outside. So that's the side that shows to the world. So it's nice and smooth and stiff. All right, so let me look at what the circle is for. I honestly don't know. I keep seeing it here. Doesn't really say anything, so I'm just gonna sew it on. So, all right. Let's see here. This is the right side. So I'm gonna turn this like this. Let me think about how do I want to do this. Yeah, so I'm gonna sew. This is the right side of my sleeve, right side of my cuff, and this is the outer edge, and this is the inner edge. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it. I'll state all that again. I'm going to sew this so that this is the wrong side of my sleeve. I don't think it's the overlap, Barbara, because usually you overlap the cuff. This cuff lines up. See, it lines up. I originally thought that those would meet, but they don't. So this is the wrong side, and I'm going to sew to this uninterfaced edge first. I'm going to sew it about start with a 1/2 inch away, and I like to sew all of my things like this that are clean finished: collars, collar stands, cuffs, waistbands. You'll see me do this all the time. I always start from the wrong side, and then I turn the cuff to the right side and finish. And it feels like I have a lot more control over how it's going to look that way. So let's, oh, we can actually gather more. Oh, I was wrong. Okay. This is a pretty full sleeve, I guess. Maybe that circle actually helps you distribute these gathers evenly. That would be my guess. There's a notch here. And here's a notch. Perfect. All right, so we're going to match up these notches here. And then I'm going to distribute my gathers a little better. Maybe if you turn it right side. I don't know. It's kind of an odd spot. All right, so let's distribute these gathers between these two sections. I feel like only one line is gathered, but this fabric getting kind of thready. right, so I'm going to keep my long threads towards the raw edge so I can kind of, I like to pull them out at the end. I'm going to start this a 1/2 inch from the end because that's the seam allowance. There's lots of ways to do a cuff, and I know there's plenty of ways to do it. And I'm actually going to try and not sew on this stripe of the cuff because I don't think I can sew that straight. To be honest, I'm going to do my best to sew that straight, but we'll see. So now I like to, here's this, where this notch is right here, just kind of halfway. So now I'm going to kind of pull a little bit, make sure these two sections are the same length. And now I'm going to also distribute the gathers a little bit better. This is, all's kind of good for this too, you know. Nobody likes flat spots of gathers, and we all kind of agree on that, right? So this gathering stitch definitely dips below that 1/2 inch seam line. I'm more concerned about being parallel to the stripe right now. But was I thinking about that when I put my gathering stitch in? No. All right, let's gather this up a little more because we're getting kind of to the next section. So let's start thinking about it. We're going to get to our halfway point and take out that pin. You want to check? I'll check. Yeah, I usually pull out the bobbin threads when I'm done, or I pull out the gathering threads. I like to do it. So I like to kind of pull my gathers too to make sure that they're not folding over one another and keeps them nice and straight. There's a lot of gathers in this, and I kind of wish I would have put these 2 rows in a little straighter. I tried, but I didn't try hard enough apparently. You guys could tell me that it's dark and far away, you know. Oh, I just got that in the mail from Hearts, Michelle. They sent this gorgeous fabric for it. I'm already like, oh, I think I need to order that fabric. It's I think it's the viscous linen noil. What's that stuff called? And it's deep purple. All right, so how'd I do on this side? Okay, so I'm a little wiggly. See that stitching right there below the stripe? Let's straighten this out now. I'm going to go just on the other side of this stripe. Normally I wouldn't do this, but because the stripe would look really terrible if I didn't do it, I'm going to. Drastic times call for drastic measures, right? Hopefully my gathers are staying kind of nice under there. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to pull out my gathering stitches because I love to do that. Lots of speculating here. Yep. Ooh, that was so satisfying. Where's the other one? Yeah, so staying away from that stripe, smart. I'm gonna go get the sleeve so I can calm you guys down about where it matches. It's right here on my table. And let me get the piece that fell into the black hole behind my machine. Oh, here it is. Let me make you guys feel better. Okay. Match circle to sleeve seam. It goes to the underarm seam. Feel better? All right, it goes to the underarm seam, meaning this seam here. I matched my notches and I evenly distributed my gathers. I feel like I did good. Exactly, Michelle. Yeah, so I have it right here. They sent it yesterday. So this will be one of the projects we sew. So it is their take on a wrap top. And this right here is just hanging down from the inside. I don't know about that. Yeah. Their feedback was someone sewed it on their staff and thought it might be on the short side. So just to watch for that when I cut and sew it. But they loved it. It turned out really cute. I saw a picture of it. All right, so remember, this is the inside of the garment. See, there's my sleeve seam. So now what I'm going to do actually is, I think the notches on both sides would have been smart, you know, because then you can kind of go, okay, this goes to the same spot there, you know. All right, so now we're going to sew the ends here. Now what they like to do is they like to sew this where they sew it folded under. You can do that if you like. I don't. I fold it under afterward. So meaning I'm going to leave this edge unfolded. But what you could do right now, this is a good time to see if your cuff's going to match. So let's do this. All right, so look, we have almost a 1/4 inch on that edge there. See that? We kind of want to match our stripes, right? We want to match our stripes. So let's trim this edge off where this stripe is right here. And I think we'll be good. The stripes are helping me finally. All right, so this is one thing that I kind of always am bad at, is remembering to check my cuff so that these two sides match right here. So now's the time. Yeah, Elizabeth, it doesn't come in a whole lot of sizes. Hi, Nancy. How's it going? Ooh. You're lurking. Okay, wait. How do I do that? There we go. Is that what I want to do? Yeah. All right. So I'm going to match this up just above this stripe here. The stripe goes in the seam allowance. And I'm actually folding on a stripe at the end. So now I'm going to sew the cuff in, lined up with that edge right there. This little thread right here's got to go. It's from this seam down here. But that's the kind of seam, thread that pokes out of your seam right here when you're done. So see that? So is your thread rack for small spools? How big of a thread rack did you get? I actually thought about doing the same, but then I got the DVD holder. Do I top stitch for close ruffles? I don't know what do you mean by a close ruffle? I think you can top stitch. Sometimes top stitching is too much, right? And other times it's great. It's so nice when you're doing stuff like that, Nancy, and you have like a stream on to kind of keep you company, huh? I do movies and streams. Like I said, I'm really into that 1920s or 1920s. That Nemo's Dreamscapes music channel right now. All right, so see, now we have our cuff is ready to turn and top stitch. So I'm gonna get the other one ready, and then we'll take this to the iron, and and this is the right side of the sleeve, and then we'll pin that and we'll stitch it. Let's do our other one. What was my timestamp? I think that's where we're at. All right, so we're gonna do wrong side. I don't have a free arm on my machine. I always mention this, and that's why I sew it this way from the inside, so that my garment's above the bed of the machine. It makes it a lot easier. All right, so we'll do the same thing with our stripes. And where's our notch? We now know the circle matches the underarm seam. I do not have the circle marked on my cuff. I would think the notch would have been there, but oh, there's the circle. There's the circle. Oh, this cuff doesn't go to this sleeve. Oh, to hold bigger. Ooh, where'd you find that? I looked for stuff like that. Interesting. Okay, evenly distribute our gathers. Here's actually my underarm seam, so this cuff was supposed to be for the other sleeve. Whoops. Let's see if I can get some of these gathers onto this facing. The facing makes it a little thick to keep gathers on here, right here. Ouch! Jeez Louise. I don't want to bleed on their garment. All right. I just need 1/2 kind of good, and then we'll start sewing. I like using the machine to help me adjust gathers and get things kind of sorted, you know, because did you color your front band of hair blue? Huh? Does my hair look blue? No. No, my hair turned gray when I was like 40, 35. So I'm just doing it. All right. I'm going to lower this a little bit down because I kind of want the stripes to be the same as the other side. I hope I don't get myself into a pickle doing that. Maybe I'll just go on the other side. It'll look different if I do that. Thinking about it. Sewing parts online. Oh. Making placemats and napkins for you. Oh, nice. You think it's the lighting? Yeah. The lighting in here is so much cooler, isn't it? Temperature-wise. So these sleeves, they usually have like a swoop on them. And that's because you do need your sleeve a little bit longer in places, like because of your elbow and stuff. Or it's the back or whatever. But it does make it a little trickier to put that gathering stitch on straight if you're focused on other things like me. I thought about it and did it, but it was a little bit all over the place. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. I didn't get any. I didn't bleed, thankfully. I have a first aid kit just for that. Okay. Let's pull this a little bit more. The sleeve seems like there's more gathers, and I have a feeling it's because I did the facing on this one. And I turned back that little like 3/8 of an inch. You think the lighting is better here? Really? Really? Oh, I don't know. Okay, let's see how I did. Okay, so there's a little spot right there. We want to fix that. I think the color of the lighting, I think you're right about that. The color is better because the other was just the fluorescent lights, and now I have these 3 big windows here. You want to see my windows? Can I show you? Let's see if I can show you my windows. Look at that. Oh, that's my light. Sorry, it's my box light. But there's 1, 2, and 3. And then you can see that's the library. I think it's the library. I don't know. It is a little like, it feels very, it's very quiet here, but there is a lot of construction around. All right. Let's pull out the gathering stitches again. Hi, Eileen. It was so gray or washed out, gloomier. Yeah, it felt like I was in a cave there. I had that huge office. So I would leave the door open and then just to have another window, because I only had one window in that big place and it was really high up. Yeah, I could tell there's daylight. Yeah. I like it. And I put that little, I really wanted to have enough space in here so I could have the chair back there. And it's nice. Oh, shoot. No. Don't pull that thread. See? This is what I'm talking about. You got to be careful what thread you pull. See that? I thought I was pulling on my other thread. No. Well, shoot. That's ruined. Look at that. Well, dang it. Be careful of the threads you pull. Let's see if I can fix it a little bit. Wham. Exactly what I was worried about. Remember that? Okay. Don't pull that thread. I may have to fix that a little bit more. Where is it at? I can't even see it. Yeah, I think so. Well, you know, I turned it down, Michelle, because this fabric, it'll start doing some kind of kooky things. But let's brighten it up. You like that better? I've been thinking it's a little dark, but no one's been saying anything. Okay, so let me get rid of this here. I know I'm taking too long. We don't have a whole lot to do on this dress, though. I am having trouble getting that back. Oh, man, that's bad. Look at that, you guys. Learn from me. Yeah, I mean, I can't do a double needle on this machine because my throat plate has a hole only for one needle. But yeah, I agree. I think that's such a great way to do it on your home machine. All right, we'll leave that like that. We'll just not poke the bear anymore. Okay, so where was I at? Let's just check this line here. I feel like, yeah, there's one little spot there. Let me just sew that, and then we'll sew the ends of our cuff, and then we'll get to the good parts of our cuff. The good fun part of finishing it. That was right here, right? Yeah. There we go. Definitely don't have enough fabric to recut a sleeve either. It looks better on this side than this side. I might be able to go like this, kind of redistribute. Maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't touch it. Kind of like knitting. Or maybe I should just not fiddle with it. I pulled the thread of the fabric, like one of these. Somehow. Okay, here we go. Let's fold this on. I want to fold this on a stripe like the other one is, like that, yeah. This interfacing goes a little beyond that stripe. Oh, I really cut it close on this one. I cut it close on, like this one right here, I don't have as much. I don't have a full 1/2 inch there. So let's make this seam allowance a little less. That way it's still perpendicular and it's not, the cuff doesn't end up being at an angle. Because that's what would happen if I started over here and went to here. The cuff would have a angle on it, which wouldn't look good. It'd be pretty obvious. All right, I can clip these corners. We already clipped those. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Nancy. That's because the bobbin's too tight. Okay. The inside looks nice, huh? All right, so let's start pinning this. This is the outside of the garment. So I kind of open it up like this. So see, here's my cuff, right? This is the outside of the garment we're looking at. I open up, this is the end, and I fold my cuff like this, and then I fold it over like that. And that's why I say there's a couple ways to do this, because it depends on what you want to deal with right here. If you pre-fold it, then you get rid of one issue, but you get another. So you just got to pick what you're willing to deal with. I find this to be the most flexible way to get rid of all these threads and be able to get them all in there. It could also depend on the fabric sometimes too. Yeah. So I'm gonna fold it along the stripe all the way. Just to kind of stabilize this edge and make sure I'm getting my cuff flat. I'm really drawing this out. Like, I know I don't do all this stuff. I'm doing it by myself. But these are just little things that help you be more successful. Make sure you're pulling this side taut. You don't want to get any bubbling on your cuff. That's why if I pin that edge there, I know that spot is non-negotiable. It won't move. You're trying to get your cuff directly across from itself where it was sewn. Get all those threads in there. You can iron this too. It's kind of fiddly no matter what. I find it easier to pin it before I iron it sometimes. Sometimes I find it easier to iron it first, you know. Just depends. But you want that fold to go just past all that stitching. And when you sewed your ends, hopefully that's when you also made sure that your cuff is the same length on this side as it is this, so you're not trying to ease in one long edge. I've had that happen before, you know. I do have a little, doesn't it look like I have a little bit of an angle here? Got all these threads in here. There's quite a bit. I didn't really get rid of as many as I normally would because I got a little scared after pulling the thread of the fabric accidentally. I think I'm just going to leave sleeping beasts lying or whatever that expression is. And just put all those beasts inside there and do my best to manage those threads. These little things like this though, like this little loop thread here, you know, some of these are just threads from stitching things down. Get rid of those. They're just kind of a headache, you know. And then I just pull this all in here. Come on. This pin probably needs to be thrown away. All right, so when I sew something like this, I don't ever start at the end here. I start in the middle. And I'm going to go all the way around. Well, am I going to go all the way around? I actually personally think that for this garment in particular, it'd be much classier to hand sew this. You know? What time is it? It is 12:44 p.m. I'm in California. So, I think hand sewing this would be really nice. Mainly because these stripes, you know? I'm going to stitch all the way around. So normally what I would do is I would stitch around the entire perimeter of the cuff, but I would start here. Or more like start where the underarm seam is right here. Start about right here. Put your back tack there, not here. Because your machine pushes the fabric over the edge like that, you know, and that's such a pain, you know what I mean? Yeah, and probably more authentic to hand sew it. Exactly. Yes, so this is the outside, Walter. This is the right side of the cuff. And so I always put my back stitch on the seam, not at the ends, because this is the focal point, right? This is what you're going to look at when you're folding it over. And remember to check the width of your cuff here before you do this last step. Oh, you're in Colorado? Yeah, so you're a couple hours. One hour ahead of me. So you want to make sure your cuff is the same width. So when you button it over, you don't have one that's wider or narrower, right? And I'm just utilizing the stripes. That's why I'm getting away easily on that right now. But I put my back stitch here. That way I go around, turn the corners, come around, and then back stitch here. If I back stitch here, what happens is you have a big thing of thread here. And if something is wrong and you need to adjust it, you have to take it out here. And the chance of it coming out and not ruining your fabric, not ruining it, maybe that's kind of a drastic way, but just using, you know, less bulk there. It looks really nice too. It's the same on collar stands. I always start at the back of the neck, go around the collar stand, and then stop. That way, if you do have to take this out, you don't have a back stitch there. And invariably, sometimes you've seen this, I set myself up for this, and then I do have to change something, and I end up having a back stitch like here and here. It happens, you know. So I'm going to go all the way around this cuff just because I want to show you that. And this is, like I said, on the right side of the garment. Now, Yeah, do I want my bobbin to land on the cuff on the inside? Yes, but remember, this is the inside of the cuff, and in a great, perfect world, it would be really nice if the stitching was perfectly the same distance on the under cuff as on the top cuff, and you'll get there. But you got to set yourself up to succeed that way. But for now, we just want it to look good on the outside. So, yeah, they do, Penny. You can totally hand sew it if you want. Yeah, totally hand sew it. All right, so I'm going to start on the inside here. And I have my fold going just past that seam that we just sewed. I'm not even going to backstitch till I get to the end. I'm not removing the pins, but you know that you can. And see, my cuff is sticking out a little bit more. Let me get this a little cut. This coming towards me, a little past this edge. It's not too bad though. It'll bug me for an hour and then I'll forget about it. And tomorrow when I see this, I'll be like, oh, that turned out pretty good, you know? So be nice to yourself. I'm going to try and get a little bit, it's kind of an awkward spot there, a little bit more so it's nice and tight. We got a little too much stuff going on here. And see, I just do this nice continuous stitch. And let's make sure we're getting all this stuff kind of pushed in there and this folded over. This is the same as doing a waistband. Now we're back at the beginning. All right, and let's undo our, or clip that, get rid of our pins. I keep wanting to call these needles for some reason. So the better you get, you can get closer and closer to this edge, just making sure you don't want to be able to lift this up and see too much. You're most likely not going to lift it up, but this is the outside, so that turned out pretty good, don't you think? Hey Lisa, how's it going? So let's see, this is the, where's the underarm seam? Okay, so then this goes like this. That's the cuff. So we're not supposed to see the stitching. It was supposed to be hand sewn, but it looks really nice. So this is the outside. Let's see how I did on the inside. Look, I fell off, but you can't tell. There's my back stitch right there. This looks like a little thread I can trim. Yeah. Oh, this was my basting stitch, and then I kind of chickened out removing the rest of it. So that looks really nice. That's the inside, but look at the outside, looks even better. All right, let's do our other one. So like I said, I like to stabilize this edge here so that I know that, because you know, you don't want this happening. You don't want to over pull, right? Your fold line right here. You also don't want this side to be bubbling, you know, like slack here, and this side taut. So I like to kind of give myself a solid edge here. Some cuffs have a seam here, and that kind of helps you stabilize that edge, you know, like it's very positive visual cue. You don't want to over pull, because your seam would be like on one side or the other, you know. Thanks, guys. Yeah. All right. So same thing. So if I had already folded, like say I had stitched this like this, pre-stitched it. So now it would be already folded. So this is the issue you can get. You can get these little two tags sitting here. And I find that I can kind of manipulate it better by leaving it flat, leaving it open. you know, because I can pull this way or this way, you know. I'm kind of looking at this thread right here though. What is that? Is that just an extra stitch past the back stitch? What is this right here? I think it's just an extra stitch past the back stitch. Let's get rid of it because it'll kind of make that area a little messy to deal with later on if I don't. And try and get rid of all these little threads near the ends. If there aren't any, that's fine, you know, but just try and get rid of them because they kind of come back to bite you later sometimes, you know. So, all right, so, oh, I know what it is. It's if you do it like this, if you don't want to fold it under like, oh, that's what it is. Yeah, so you can do this. So if you leave it undone like this, I'm saying the word this a lot, and I'm sorry. So there's two ways you could have set yourself up. We could have sewed this short seam with this folded up, right? And what that does is it leaves you less flexibility as far as the depth of the cuff here. Like I wouldn't be able to adjust it to cover that up if I needed to, right? But the other thing that's nice about that is it's done, you know? But if you do it this way and you fold it along the seam line there, just let it kind of naturally fold back like it is, you can wrap it around this other seam allowance and tuck it under like that. So see, so because I left this undone, I didn't do this on the other cuff because I forgot that that's what it is I like doing. So this right here, it's just hanging free. And now I'm going to wrap it around the seam allowance of the other side of the cuff, right? That's the cuff. So basically I'm folding it around that and now folding it under, and see how much cleaner that is under there? Yeah, that's what I like doing. Sometimes you gotta like fiddle with it to remember. I don't think I've figured, like that's why I always leave it open. I know it's the way I like to do it, but I don't think I've remembered that's what I do for a long time. All right, let's turn the sleeve inside out so I can sew on it a little easier, and then I can pin it easier too. Just a little easier to do. All right, so I just kind of do it back and forth, one side to the next. And see, right now I have a lot of this extra stuff showing. See that? We don't want that. So let's pull this out a little bit long, make it a little longer, cover it up. Spend time here. I feel like I always rush this kind of thing sometimes, and it's because I'm really excited. It's like, oh, one more stitch and this is done, and I get to see what it looks like, right? But at the same time, it's these little tiny things that you end up having to take it apart and redo it to make it look nicer, and then you're not one step closer, you know? Definitely guilty of rushing things. All right, so didn't I make a little notch on this one? Yeah, here we go. Matching up. The underarm seam. There it is, yeah. Where's that seam at? Oh, it's right there. Okay, there we go, okay. I was looking for the like it was the wrong side. It's like, where is it? It's like invisible. Remember, all these layers nice and flat, no bubbles. Oh yeah. See when I pull, now it's pulling right here. That's too much. So, you know. Keep it tight, but don't over pull. trying to get that stripe to not show. I find like it's a good guide, but I want to not have it right on the edge because it'll invariably look wiggly. And that's where I had to compensate here. Like if I folded this back where it wants to fold, too much of this thread is showing. If I pull out a little bit, then the stripe is showing. So I'm going to have to just try and do my best here. Now, if you really have a messy spot right here, once you have your cuff sewn, you can technically try and remove a lot of this thread, but it does kind of open a can of worms because you're essentially unstitching where the cuff is stitched on there. And yes, it's secure. It won't start falling apart or anything because you've stitched your cuff on this what we're about to do. But you have all these little threads here, and it does you kind of go down this rabbit hole of trying to fix things, and I would just try to avoid it. I've been desperate before and had to do it, especially on a collar stand, which is such a focal point, All right, so again, I'm going to start in the middle just because I don't have to worry about those back stitches. Try and get right on the edge. Yes, I know your bobbin thread may be off the cuff on the underside, but it's so much nicer if this fold is stitched down and you don't see any of your, thread or raw edges poking out from underneath, kind of revealing the fact that this was your last pass, I actually do look at stuff like that on garments that are sewn not by me. Like, how did they do it? Did they do their cuff this way? And a lot of factories do it this way. But they also have a machine to do it too. We can get rid of these. Now, no going back now. Can't change that. I'm just kind of stitching on that stripe, just kind of hide it a little bit. Hide my stitching at least. Alright, so I have my all handy, and I love to push these like raw, the side of the sleeve with all the stitching on it, because it's, it's got the gathering stitch, it's got the stitch that attached the cuff. Alright, turn my corner. Sometimes a bigger needle will make the number of stitches on a side a little better or worse. And right now, I think I have a 14 in. I usually sew with a 16. I have a 14 for this project. I don't want big holes on this fabric, this linen, because every little hole would show. Alright, that one I got a lot closer to the edge. This looks really nice. This fabric is really easy to sew on in some respects, but there we go. Oh, thanks, Ray. Ray, you're already a Patreon patron. You don't need to do this. I'm gonna have to do a little intervention with you. Alright, this looks pretty good. This is the underside. So look, it didn't land any stitches from this stitch right here. Did not land on the cuff right here. See that? But it's okay. I've actually had a customer once because of the way we sewed something. What was that? It was binding. Oh yeah, the binding. And because we've always finished the binding on the right side, it looked like this on the other side. And they said, it's not sewn, it's going to fall apart, because they're used to seeing the stitching there. But we didn't stitch that binding using a binding machine. We did it like I just did the cuff. You couldn't use a binding machine in that spot. So, I had to reassure them, like, no, that's the first pass. And it's a side you never saw. It was the inside of something. It wasn't a big deal, but it is sewn. Even though, look, I kind of missed my cuff the whole way. Some fabrics this looks bad on, but this is the inside of my sleeve. See, there's my seam allowance. This is going to be fine, though. All right, so now our sleeves are done. I really dragged that out, didn't I? And so now this placket, this will go over this one. So this is the side with the placket turned back, and it goes over this one. So this is a little more invisible than that other one is because it has the turn back. I'm trying to show you, but it's kind of hard to see. All right. So where are we at now? We are at the invisible zipper. So let me write that down. Making hot dogs. All right, so now we're at ooh, I'm really dragging this out. All right, we're gonna do the zipper now. So I have overlocked my side seams. And on the zipper, if you're left-handed, you're going to want to put the zipper on your right-hand side. But typically the instructions are going to tell you to put the zipper on the right-hand side of the garment. I mean, the left-hand side of the garment, because they assume the wearer is right-handed. And it just makes it easier to reach across your body and unzip it. So you don't have to do that. The sewing is identical. You won't even know. You just have to know which side to do it on. So I'm going to sew this side seam up so this dress isn't like flapping around anymore. And then we'll do the other side. Unless, maybe do I want this seam open to do it? Maybe I do. Maybe I'll leave that side seam open. I actually have barely done any invisible zippers on a side seam. So what I did notice is that I'm going to have a little trouble matching my side seam. So because this side seam is at an angle, it's kind of getting a little stretched out because it's on the bias. And this one, this is the front, has all this work on it. So it's a little bit more stabilized. So what I was thinking is I'm going to match it at the side seam and trim at the armhole a tiny bit if I have to. So let's just see if I relax these two layers where I'm at. Because look at, that's a big difference. Look at that. That's a really big difference. Eek. I don't really want to trim it that much, you know. Let's see how the side seam lower on the skirt looks. Yeah. All right. How do I want to deal with that? That's not going to change the fit of the sleeve too much if I trim that much, but it is kind of a lot, you know. First thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to interface this. I'm just trying to find my opening right now. And do I want to trim that off? I kind of do. See that? And remember, this piece is on the cross grain, whereas this one's on the length grain. So that makes a difference. Let's just trim this a little bit. Let's see if it's the same on this side so that we're trimming the same amount on both. That's the back. I'll feel a lot better if it's the same on both sides. It's not. Alright. Well, I tried. Okay, so let's see. Where is that notch? I feel like I saw it when I was overlocking. I'm going to put it below this facing here, this front. So I'm going to sew just the top of the zipper to the, probably to the notch, but I can't see my notch right now. And that's fine. Like it's not imperative that the zipper be perfectly at that. You just need to be able to get this dress on and off. So the notch is right here. Okay, there we go. Is that it? Yeah, that's where the notch is. Okay. Let's get the side seam lined up. All right, and now we're going to sew below the notch. Sew it together. Just looking for it. Oh, it's right here. Okay. See, do my stripes match? Oh, they won't match because the upper skirt was on the cross grain. But maybe we can get the lower stripes to match. All right. I'm kind of looking from the bottom up to match the stripes. There we go. By the time I get to the hem, they'll be matching. Let me get rid of my phone there. I haven't had a hot dog in a while. There's a little hot dog truck near me here. I went there and I really wanted to like it, but it wasn't hot enough. I like my food really hot. I'm not sure I'm gonna get these stripes to match. It would be so nice if they matched. Like my raw edges aren't staying lined up because I want to match the stripes. Okay, well, now I'm going to iron some interfacing here. So you'll notice that I had that funny little interfacing piece, or two of them, and I cut them 1 inch wide by 11 inches long. The zipper's supposed to be 9 inches. And then I did this zigzag, the pinking edge here, based upon the, like, that is what Angela Wolf, I love her invisible zipper tutorial. Sorry, I need to get my scissors. And I remember that she always does this. She always puts a pinked edge if the fabric's kind of thin, because it will show less on the outside. And this fabric is pretty thin, so I decided to do this interfacing. I don't always do it. Well, look, some of these are matching. That angle of the side seam, you can really see the waviness it causes, right? Do you see a little bit of waviness of the... My dress got caught in the cord. Okay. It doesn't match that great. Matches great right there. See, look at how nice that is when it matches. Oh, matches right there. All right, well, there's some spots. Okay, let's just iron this up here. Maybe I'll just do serger sleeves on, just to save some time today, you know? All right. Probably would have been smart to put this interfacing on before I did this, before I sewed that seam. Yeah, it would have been. My bad. Let's press this waist seam up. I like waist seams going up. Put the pink edge. Let's center it. just kind of getting it attached so then I can really iron it. Get a little bit of it going. Yeah, I really should have ironed this before I did the seam. What was I thinking? Maybe I should have even done it before I did the serging, you know? I should have definitely done this before I serged it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys. I need to up my invisible zipper game for sure. This isn't even like fusing very well. Yeah, right? When the stripes match, it's a pretty sight, isn't it? All right, let's do the other one. Oh no. I was literally putting my scissor over there so they didn't fall. And then I just threw them on the floor practically. All right. Here's my other one. Okay. I'm not feeling confident about this. I'm sorry. Here, this will be easier. Okay. All right, so now I need to iron our zipper. Let me go get it. So like I said, I'm turning the heat down too. I'm going to use a longer zipper than it called for. I just saw this coil here and I was like, wait, did I cut this already? And then the invisible zipper has this rolled edge of zipper coil. So you want to iron this open. And you'll also notice that there's like this little stitch line here from how they wove the twill tape of the zipper. So this looks like a chevron right here. This whole long edge looks like a weaving of V's, right? So you want to stitch in on that little stitch line right there. And then what happens is the zipper rolls over and pulls your garment there, and then it looks invisible on the outside. So you want to turn down your iron this open. This won't stay, so if you do this, don't wait hours. Get on it, you know. It'll eventually roll back. So we'll do both. And you got to turn down the heat because it'll melt it otherwise. All right. Do it one more time a little bit. You're going to need a zipper foot or an invisible zipper foot. And it has like this little groove underneath to let the coil chain of the zipper rest in the groove while the foot sits on top of it. I don't have one of those, but I do have a really narrow foot for my machine. See this? It's very narrow because I can't move my needle left or right. Now I feel like I'm working against the clock with the ironing the zipper tape open. Oh, no steam. I actually find it really helpful. I know it says that, but I find the steam works really good. I've heard someone else talking about it because I didn't talk about it really. I was just like, I use steam. And then I saw someone talking about it and they do too. And I was like, okay, good. I feel a little better. All right. So like I said, I haven't done an invisible zipper on a side seam very many times where it's closed above the zipper. So this, I've done it before. I just haven't done very many of them. So I always kind of go, how do I do this again? You know? So this may not be the best tutorial, but I'm going to do my best and we're going to get there. Open up my dress here. All right. So that's my side. Here we go. Okay. So here's my side. So we're looking at, this is the front and here's that facing. This is the back. This is the armhole, side seam. Let's get my scissors. It's a lot of dress. I'm going to trim off a little bit. See, I should have totally done this before I serged. So you want to make sure you don't confuse the right and wrong side of this kind of zipper. It is very hard to tell. So it kind of helps to like zip it up and then place it on, you know, to make sure you're getting it right sides together. You know, just kind of zip it because you're going to get confused with your left and your right side and wrong side. Oh, you did, Nancy? Cool. I'm just going to pin this on here and kind of position it here. So, oh, I didn't make it, but I know that that's it. So I think what I want to do is, I actually kind of want to do this. I'm going to pull my dress out of here and open up the side seam like this. I'm going to sew it like that. Okay. I'm going to extend my zipper above the spot where I've stitched it closed. This pin is like useless right now. We'll get it better situated and tell you. So I just put it, you know, it's like the top of the zipper tape. It's a fat inch above that closed seam. I just want a little extra up there. And so now I'm going to sew best I can on that line I was telling you about. Here we go. Nice and close. Is that better? All right. Yeah, right, Penny? It actually sticks with the seam. Okay, so this is the open side seam, right? I'm not stitching on this side, so I'm stitching on the back right now first. And I'm going to stitch in this little weaving stitch line there. So let's just kind of start at the top and get our legs under us. And wish me luck. This is when if I had custom emotes, I'd be like, please put good luck in the chat, please. I'm going to kind of try and stitch a tiny bit to the right of that. See this little weaving line? I hope you can kind of see it. Now, here's my side seam. I mean, my waist seam. So let's get out one of the markers and let's just mark this directly on here because we're going to need that when we sew the other one. All right. let's really hope that I didn't confuse, you know, the right or wrong side of my zipper and all this. If you look at the comments sections of any invisible zipper video, that's what people usually say. Oh, it went so good, but I put it on backwards or inside out. So it's a thing. All right, so I'm just gonna go below here. And I'm just gonna backstitch there. Yeah, I know my zipper's really long. They sent me a 9-inch. I think you should use one that's a couple inches longer. And I had one that's like 14 inches. So, all right, so now we're going to zip this up. Okay, we're going to zip it up and we're going to just do some markings directly across so that when we're sewing onto the other side, we don't have any, you know, mismatched seams. All right, so like right here. Oh, so this is one thing you got to be careful of. Because I serged it, you can kind of see my serging sticking out there. So... all right, so this seam right here, because you know, you want your waist seam to match going across, right? That's probably the trickiest part of doing any kind of zipper installation, is getting like the tops to line up from across from each other, or the waist. All right, so let's try and get this up here as well. Look at it from this side. I just want to zip it up a little bit. Sorry, I don't do this a lot, so like my hand movements aren't all like well practiced, you know. I just want I'm trying to just get my zipper zipped up. Here we go. There it is. There it is. All right, so I want to start across, because it's in like a keyhole opening, it's not going to be so bad as long as my waist seam is, you know, lined up. All right. So now let's see if I can get my zipper unzipped. I don't think I can. Let's see. Unzip it. You definitely don't want to sew too close to this zipper at your waist seams or any areas like that, because it's impossible to close. I have plenty of dresses like this. Trust me. I have to have my husband help me sometimes. And it's because, you know, these like things like this, like waist seams, add this extra little bit of bulk. So you will see sometimes even though you stitched it really nice and it looks good hanging on the hanger, when it's on you, it pulls a little bit and you see a little bit of the zipper there. And that's probably my not stellar skill at putting these on, because I haven't had a lot of practice. And so what I do think is, like, you got to be careful in those thicknesses, because that's the high stress area, you know, like, so experiment with that. All right, so I've got this pin down here. I'm just gonna walk my zipper up and actually just hope that I'm getting it lined up. All right, so like I said, I have this extra above the hole, so we'll just kind of get ourselves going here. And you know, there's my stops. They're right across from each other. So you can see there's the stop of the zipper right there. Here and here. So just remember to stitch so that all your serging is in the seam allowance. I'm kind of lucky that the seam allowance of this dress is roughly what this seam allowance of this tape is. But if you're using something like a 5/8 inch or 3/4 inch seam allowance with these narrow tapes, you've got to like put your tape in a little bit so that your seam line, unless you're like, I think this might be a little bit big, so you want it to be a little, or if it's a little small, you want it to be a little bigger. So, all right, so I'm just going to open my zipper. Am I going to open my zipper more? I don't know if I can, actually. I don't think I can. This is why it's so tricky. I think maybe, can I don't think I can do that either. This is why you want a little extra. This is where I'm like, okay, I don't want to unzip my zipper past this because I may not ever get it back up, but I may have to do this by hand. No one ever shows you this tutorial. But this is why you want your zipper to be longer, because honestly, what I should have done, I don't know. I don't know. Let's just take that out. So I can only go that far. All right, let's zip it up. See, and then it's hidden in there. Can I sew a little bit? I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna use my hand wheel. I'm just stitching right where I just stitched. Don't worry, you guys. I'm not worried about like hitting. Even if I sew on the coiled chain, it won't. This machine's not gonna break or anything. It's just a nylon coil. All right. I'm going to sew across the bottom here. I'm going to cut it off. And I'm probably going to sew a little piece of fabric around this. In fact, I have a piece right here. This is like a hybrid. Yeah, Lisa, I love her tutorial. I'm definitely using a lot of elements from it. She doesn't have a tutorial on how to do it with the side seam so that it's above and below. You know, the fabric's closed. Yeah, I know, Stephanie. But the invisible zipper is different. I can still sew close to it. In fact, you want to sew in here. I just wanted to make sure I got it secure down there, and it had a back stitch. I was trying to sort out what I wanted to do there, and then I just like lifted up my pressure fit, which cuts the thread, and I was like, oh yeah, I probably want a back stitch there. All right, I'm just finishing the edge of the zipper. I don't know about you guys, but this stuff is like, this will ruin my day. I have a few zippers, invisible zippers, where I've cut them off like this, and I didn't do this little step here, and it literally ruined my day. And I keep meaning to fix them, but that little sharp coil chain, whew, in your rib cage, like right there on the side. All right, let's see how I did. This is what's from Threads. This is the way you put in an invisible zipper. I just like looking at Angela Wolf's tutorial, but I'm sure she puts it in just like how they would do on Threads or something. I love Threads magazine. I don't look at their tutorials though, so it could be a little closer, but not bad. It still can go up and down. It gets a little thick right there. Ooh, that matches perfect. So I think, you know, if you can get even closer, I would. But, you know, you really might have trouble getting the zipper up. I'm pleased with that, though. Yeah, because you need this big head to be able to go by. See that? So you really can't get much closer. Cool. All right. So let's do the sleeves now. Oh, that's cool, Lisa. I've never looked at her other videos. I kind of find her entertaining to listen to and watch, though. I always think, I hope I am someday that clear, and then I think, this is an edited video. They probably did a million takes, and then they edit out all the other stuff, you know? Okay, so my armholes are definitely getting frayed. All right, let's do the other side seam. You can do a French seam if you want. I'm not, just for the sake of time now, and because I would really like to get to the sleeves and the hem. That's one thing about this dress. I think it could be really cute a lot shorter, too, you know? Really? Yeah, Penny, exactly. I'm not surprised. Okay, now this side seems a little longer. That's good. I want this one to want to be trimmed as much as the other side so that they feel the same when someone's wearing it. Oh, let me change my zipper foot. Sorry. The zipper foot is too narrow. It just gets frustrating to sew with because there's not a lot of real estate on the foot to hold the fabric, you know? You need all this real estate. All right. At least I don't have to worry too much about the stripe matching because we have the like horizontal bodice, you know? Check out our stripes as we go once we get past this pocket area here. The instructions say to put your zipper in, like they basically say finish your edges, sew above your zipper, like sew to the notch and below the notch, put your zipper in, and repeat for the other side. Well, you're not putting in two zippers. You're only putting in one zipper. I think that's just a minor typo because it's like common sense. But just in case you're like, wait, do I need two zippers to be able to get this on? You don't. It only calls for one because I double checked as well. I was like, oh, maybe this takes two zippers. I don't know. And you just need one zipper. So just because it says repeat, it doesn't mean repeat the zipper step. Just sew your side seam together however you want. Trying to match my stripes because we like it when they match. There's like really clever ways to do this and I just never practiced them. You know? I think one way would be to like iron your fabric back on the seam line so that you can kind of see, you know? You can use pins and poke stripe to stripe. I'm looking at it underneath. You can't see what I see. All right. Sleeves. Should we do the hem really quick while we're here? Oh no, I need to trim that thing. Look at that puppy. It's pretty thready. All right, so what do we think? Do we want... How do we feel about a French seam set-in sleeve on this? I think it's totally possible because this is pretty flat. I don't know. I kind of want to do it, but it's already 1:30. It's only 1:30. Well, it's 2.5 hours. I think we could do this. I think we could do it. Let's see. I told that guy that it's going to help me start working on this other alert sound that I can't hear it, you can't hear it thing. That I'd be done about 2. What are you keeping stripes secret under there? I think I'm the only one that'll have it done today, Stephanie. How do I choose? So I usually post my schedule for the month at the beginning of the month. And then each week I'll let you know as well. And if you look at the community tab here on YouTube across the top, I try and post the schedule there too. So if you want to sew along, you can. I'm not sure how many people sew with me at the same time. I would love that. All right, let's see. This is the front of my sleeve. This is the front of my bodice. And I'm going to do it wrong sides together first. Sleeves in a half hour. French seam sleeves in a half hour. So it's four sleeve armhole seams. Look at that interfacing. Let's hope it's invisible on the other side, right? All right, this is the right side. This is the wrong side. I need it to be the other way. Wrong sides together. Are you sewing this dress, Stephanie? I think that would be possible to do it together at the same time, but also I do feel like it would be a little bit of pressure if someone got behind, you know? We are talking about doing a sew along, but then it would be kind of like broken up into, you know, weeks. So this week we're doing this next week we're doing that, and then people just need to catch up by then. I think that's far more manageable. And we were talking about doing like a custom pattern, right? So we could all do the same thing. All right, so there's not a whole lot of easing in this sleeve. She said to put the easing stitch in there, so I did. But I think you could manage without. All right, so we're doing French seam sleeves, so I have this right sides together. I have a dedicated video to doing this kind of sleeve sewing. If you want a French seam set-in sleeve and you have a lot to ease in, I do that in that video. And it'll probably be far more instructive than this because this looks really easy. And that one, I actually made it pretty challenging for myself. I gave myself a lot to ease in. In fact, look, there's like nothing to ease in on this. I'm taking out. Could probably skip the easing stitch, but it does offer a little bit of stability to your armhole. Did I just run out of bobbin thread? I forgot about my bobbin thread. I'm glad I haven't run out. I probably just jinxed myself now, huh? A little bit of thickness with the facings for that bib. Too much to you. So because there's like the little notches for all the darts, I'm sewing straight through those. So this isn't my last seam, but you'll see like, see there's one of those notches right there. The notch goes past my stitching, and that's okay because we're going to do one more row to enclose everything. You'll see it a little bit, but it'll be secure. In other words, putting these threads towards the seam allowance so I can pull them out. These are pretty easy French seams. All right, let's pull out the thread. And then we'll do the other one. I think the only thing I won't be doing on camera is hand sewing the buttonholes. Yeah, that would be hard too, Lydia. I think too because you're concerned you're gonna get behind. I would be concerned like, okay, where are they at? Where are they at? You know? So I think like doing it in chunks, like chapters, is a little more manageable. But I wouldn't mind doing like a Zoom thing together. We did the Mountain View pull-ons. That was fun. All right, same thing on this sleeve, wrong sides together. Like I'm doing a lot of drawing videos right now, and I'm a lot of times do try and keep up. But then I'm like, I'll do something wrong, you know, and I'm like, oh no, I'm off track. And I can at least pause the video. I'm so excited. So many of you have signed up for my new Patreon tier to do the monthly Zoom kind of 1-on-5s. I'm pretty excited about that. So thanks, you guys. I'm really glad you guys are into that idea too. So I'll do a email or something soon. I don't know how I'll do that. I guess I could just message you guys in Patreon. I can do a post to you. Mountain View. Mountain View. I didn't say Mountain Dew. All right. Plus the fact that there's a delay on YouTube. You know, like if we did the sew along on YouTube and you had a question and I don't, you know, it's like I'm like way past you then. That would be so frustrating for you guys, you know? Like that wouldn't be good. Zoom's a little more real time, right? Yeah, was it, Barbara? That's good to know. Yeah, I kind of figured that. I've been thinking about doing classes on specific garments. You know, like, oh, let's do the Archer button-up together. And I wonder about that. Like, how do people stay caught up? I really put this far away, didn't I? This easing stitch, it's really far away from the edge. It's way past the seam allowance. Stop sewing on it. Why don't you get out of the way? There we go. I'm trying to round that out a little better right there. All right, let me get rid of this basting stitch, and then we're going to trim the raw edge, press, and sew the last seam of the sleeve. All right. Let's see. Let me get my rotary. Ooh, it's still messy from others. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to trim this edge. Be really careful doing this. That's why I have the garment above. I always like doing it from the inside hole. I think this will look so much nicer than the overlock. Feels like the side seam was a little bit cheater. I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to trim it off rather than pull on it, since I've kind of learned my lesson today about that, didn't I? Where's the other one? Here's the other one. Yeah, right, Ray? I think that works. Yeah, totally, Barbara. Yeah, exactly. I think like having checkpoints, you know, so, okay, when you come to class, have this ready, and then by, you know, by next week, get up to here, and then maybe there is like a on harder projects, you could have like a midweek Zoom. Okay, who's stuck? Okay. Let's see here. I have my sleeve coming out my neck hole there. Where's the salami? Here we go. Press that seam one way. Doesn't matter which way. Just press it one way because the next one will be a lot easier, especially on sleeves, you know. A little tricky, I know. If you don't have like a salami like this thing, you can just put like a rolled up piece of fabric in there. That's what I used to always do when I didn't need one very often. My mom does a lot of those like classes, Stephanie. She really likes them. She's getting really good too. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Okay. Get my sleeve out. There we go. I should have done the, well, no, I need to kind of turn it to the other side. I was gonna say I should have just done both ironing steps on the other sleeve while I was there, but it doesn't really work easier that way. So what are you guys sewing today? Anyone sewing? I know Nancy's putting her thread rack and she's lurking. Probably about to feed her dogs too. And I'm trying to think, like, I might cut out my niece and nephew's jammies because my parents are actually, now that they're vaccinated, they're going to go see them next weekend. So I was like, ooh. Deadline, a deadline. Hi, Adina. How's it going? No, I don't like pressing the seam open. That's way harder. That takes way too much time. And I burn myself when I do that on French seams. I just need it to go one way because then it makes this next step a lot easier. I figured you were in class today, Adina, huh? Oh yeah, it's drinking and painting. Terrible combo for me. Okay, I'm pulling my whole dress through the neck hole apparently. There we go. All right. So now we are hopefully looking at the wrong side of the garment. Yep. I still need to put my label on here. And see, there's one of those little notches that was deeper than that first pass of sewing. And then we can put the sleeve like this. So now we're on the armhole only. I know it's a lot to look at, sorry. Homework. You knit too, Adina? I did not realize that. Maybe I knew that before, actually. Here. Oh, you haven't even tried your hemming machine yet? Oh, you're making the Pietra pants. Nice. I think Sydney's made those, right? So this is just the edge of the armhole seam that I just trimmed and pressed. You can press that seam open if you want, but this curved edge, whew, that is asking for a lot of work and burned fingers. Sorry, Nancy. I'm in sync with your dogs, I guess. Oh, Adina. I used to have 3-hour-long classes too. I can't imagine doing it any other way, because then when I went to a regular university later on after I graduated, I went to the university and just studied languages and some environmental engineering and just did some stuff because I was in a college town. And those hour-long classes, I was like, what the heck? I am schlepped my butt all the way here. And I was on my bike only. And, you know, it's like, got into class. Dude, that was like an hour, you know, there and back, all that stuff. So why can't the class be 3 hours, you know? And, and language classes, by the way, were 1 hour a day, every day, and a lab one day. So it was like 5 days a week. I would just go. I only took 8 a.m. ones. And I would take an 8 a.m. one and then go to work afterward. So at least it was kind of on my way. Okay. Is daily 3 hours each? Yeah, wow. Oh, Adina, you can't. I want a link to that. Fancy. Ooh, your hammer is well traveled. How long did it take to get it? All right, this is the armhole, right? Yep, okay. I apparently did not open my side seam up here, which I meant to. Whoops. I'm not going to fix that. It'll be okay. So now I'm just sewing this same armhole seam, enclosing that raw edge that we just sewed and trimmed. Here's all these little darts that are shaping the sleeve cap. And I'm kind of making sure I'm pulling and pressing down like all this is nice and smooth. Yeah, exactly, Adina. I know, 1 hour class is too short. Yeah, and they would always have a class right afterward, you know? So yeah, you couldn't even talk to the professor. Yeah. I spent a lot of money on my college. That school was so expensive, ridiculously so, you know. It took me years to pay it off. And I would have been disappointed if I couldn't really, like, sink my teeth into it there, you know. Plus, I had to commute in college. Like, when I went to fashion school. Not when I was just doing the languages for fun. But I had to commute to downtown LA, you know, by train, holding all my stuff. Creepy old guys hitting on me on my way home when I was, 19 years old. And on the way home, the train always had a bar car, so they'd be drinking. On their way home to their families and stuff. Oh, the 80s and 90s. I'd just be like, dude, I'm 18, you know? Like, I don't even know if I had the confidence to say that, to be honest. Okay, so there's our French seam set and sleeves. No problem. Okay. Where are we at? Let's look at our dress. Let's look. All we have to do is hem it and do the buttons. Oh, and let me put my label on. I gotta find the center. We forgot to put it on, Ray, but I would have done it this way anyway, so that's good for once, right? Because of the way I finished this facing. Okay, I just want to mark this stripe so I know that's the center stripe. All right, now I can let go and get this all. I am just going to place this under here like that. And stitch it right in that hem stitching. All right. There we go. Okay, so we only have pins on for these buttons. Should we look at the whole effect? The sleeve. I just had a panic attack. Thought I put the sleeves on backwards, but I didn't. There we go. Cool. All right. No, exactly, Walter. So true. Wow, Adina, that's awesome. Oh, you only paid out of oh, my daughter took sign language as her language in high school. All right, so here we go. I'll put the full screen on. Where'd that go? Oh, there it is. It looks a little frumpy when I'm just holding it here, but it's super figure flattering. It's really cute. Yeah. Okay, so now let's trim the hem and then I'll hem it up. Okay, I'm just going to trim this edge here. And I'll probably just do a rolled hem. Like I said, I don't know if you guys saw, it might still be in my stories on Instagram. I tried it on because I couldn't resist. And I thought that it actually fit pretty darn good. It's supposed to have a belt, so you get this kind of minor blousing in the bodice. That's why it looks a little frumpy when I'm just holding it up for you. And I thought could be shorter, but the length looked good. For me, it would make me look a little taller if I made it shorter. Let's straighten that out a little bit. Alrighty. I think I've been around once already. Let's just iron this edge a little bit in these spots that I feel like I would have trouble getting it to lay flat. Right, Penny? I know, huh? One of the people I game with the other night, she's like, I was watching Breakfast at Tiffany's? Wait, I think that's what it was. And she was like, I don't know what all the hype's about. How'd I do on the stripes on the other side seam? Did we even check? Okay, huh? Let's press that whole seam open so we have the full effect. You know? Okay, yeah. Maybe I need to get my other ironing board out for this. That won't match there, but oh, I did pretty good. Look at that. Ooh. It's almost like I meant to do it. All right, let's hem. You know what's really funny is when Hart saw that I lost a button for this dress, they were so sweet. They immediately put together the Texas top project and threw the button in the package. And you know what? I need 4 more for the cuffs of the sleeves. Oh man, I just figured that out this morning. Oh, totally, Lisa. Yeah, exactly. But you know, I think it could be pretty cool sleeveless and a little shorter, you know? Like maybe like a tank. I don't know. It kind of looked good on the dress form with no sleeves. And I think the short sleeve version, I have to say, I love the long sleeve version, but I actually think the short sleeve version is a little cuter. You know? I've got so many texts. My phone keeps lighting up. All right, I start this on the side seam, and I'm just going to roll hem it. I think one way to do this a little easier would be to serge it first, if you have a serger. But you're going to see me do it on the fly. This dress is pretty forgiving. So I can match my stripes up. That kind of helps keep me on track and prevent the torquing that you can kind of get with these. But this probably isn't going to be hard to do because of the nature of the fabric, and it's not a sharp curve. It would look nicer if you prepped it first, you know. So, yes, side stripes. I hope Walter saw those. This fabric is so crisp, I have to make sure I get it where I want it the first time. Otherwise, because it just is like, okay, I'll do that. And it's like, oh, wait. I want to back up a little bit. And it's like, no. I liked where you put me the first time. Get rid of some of these threads here. Oh, I need to make my marker. Oh yeah, so I have a new video coming out. I'm trying to decide when to release it, but it's definitely unique because it's all about how to use that Procreate app on the iPad to interview fabrics for a project. So I know it's not for everybody and it's not sewing related, but for those who are interested, and you might find it kind of interesting, and I give 3 ways to do it. It's not a very long video actually. So you did nice, Walter. Thank you. Let's see. I don't really like these threads. Are they just sitting here? They are. Okay. Okay, we're almost to the beginning, which means we're at the end. Next week, just before you guys start heading out, I'm sewing the Annie cardigan. And someone commented on my Instagram, they're like, that's not a free pattern on their site. And so I said, okay, let me think about how I got that. I am on the Melanated Fabrics newsletter, which was started by Mimi G and, oh, I'm totally blanking on who started Melanated Fabrics. But if you sign up for, so she said, I signed up for the newsletter and I got it. And so the Annie cardigan is pretty cute. It's It's let's see, do I have a picture of it somewhere? I can look it up for you. I better figure out what fabric I'm using though. Okay, and I'm thinking I'll do a shorter version of it. I don't have a microphone on that scene right now, so that's what I'm thinking about doing though. Or that's what I'm doing next week. Brittany Jones, thank you. Gosh. I was gonna say Style So Mean. I knew that was wrong. Thank you guys. Yeah, so Brittany Jones and Mimi G started their own fabric company called Melanated Fabrics. And they're always getting constant new stock. You get their newsletter. Did you get that pattern, Lisa? It was mid-February. And there was just a link directly in the newsletter for it. So it's kind of sneaky. I mean, they weren't being sneaky about it, but it would be easy to be like, oh, I've gotten too many newsletters this week and just kind of close it, you know? I'm going to iron this. Or not close it, but just delete it. So, but I think you can still sign up for the newsletter and get it if you want to sew that. All right, so let's... We can try and put this on my dress form, but I don't know if it'll fit her. Now that everything's on with the sleeves. It's not, there's no collapsible shoulders on my dress form. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I can't get this on my dress form. But we can pin it up on her. See, that rolled hem looks pretty good. Cute, cute, cute. Forgot I used her as a clothes rack today. I'm just gonna pin it on here. I think that's the only way I can get it on my dress form. So if you had a little belt, you'd have some blousing. This is a kind of, yeah, there we go. That'll work. That'll work better. For the big reveal. This isn't the most flattering view of it like this. What is this thread here? Ooh, these are threads I'm not going to pull. So you see there's a little bit of blousing right here. So and there's a belt on in the picture. You know? And then the sleeves have that shaping. And we have now I only have 2 buttons and I should have 4. What do you think? Pretty cute. Can't see the back. Little pockets. here. Put your sleeve in your pocket, or your arm in your pocket like this. Here we go. I've styled plenty of dress forms. Cool. That was pretty fun. Oh, then she has 2 buttons here. I can't believe I can't find those. Wait, I just had them. Literally had them. I wonder, oh, they're up here. I knew. I was like, come on. Here they are. Okay. Oh, thanks, Terry. You know, I think for this, the fabric was really, really great for it. You know, linen, it's like, linen has its issues, you know, it can be kind of thready. And obviously I pulled that, I don't know if you were here, but I pulled the a thread of the fabric, not a thread from my sewing. And I have a run in one of the sleeves. Must be the other one. So, you know, but at the same time, the linen is like, you can kind of make it do what you want. You can kind of steam it into place and stretch it into place. So, yeah. Oops, that's not. Yeah, that is it. There we go. Ugh. I can't press the foot pedal to lower her while I'm sitting. Yeah. Yeah, this one was definitely a nice thing to flatter one's sewing with. Look at those cuffs, you know, with the stripes. Pretty cute. What do you think of the sleeves? Would you do short sleeves? Or would you do the long? Yeah, I think that you don't like the lower buttons here, Adina? Yeah, she looks, I have to say, on the camera, she looks a little train conductor-ish. You know? Well, and this is not helping. I feel like this reminds me of like a little train conductor cap. So, you bought a ton. Yeah, exactly, Terry. I kind of was down on it for a bit, but now I'm not. So, well, cool. That was really fun, you guys. Yeah, the long sleeves are lovely. So there's the one with the facing. No, this is the binding. I mean, look at the binding is more invisible than the facing, and that's because I stitched this one, you know. So if you hand sewed it, maybe it would be more invisible. I actually think the bias binding placket is more invisible though. I don't mind the top stitching on the cuff. I actually thought that I would kind of mind it with this era, but it doesn't bug me at all. Maybe I did small stitches, so maybe that helps. Yeah, blazers and summer dresses. Oh, that's a good point, Penny. You like the long sleeves, Donna? Yeah, Beverly, exactly. Yeah. And a lot faster to sew, you know, because you don't have the cuff. Yeah. Look how tiny she is. Definitely an old school drawing. Let's see. This is how you do it. A drawing in fashion school is, okay, normal human being, like you and me, we're all normal. We're 8 heads tall, but usually these drawings are 9. So let's see. 1 1/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, she's 8 heads tall. Wow. She looks 9 heads tall for sure. Yeah, embroidery would be nice. Embroidery would be nice. Yeah. Cool. Well, that was fun, you guys. So next week I'll be doing that Annie cardigan, free pattern if you sign up for their newsletter, Melanated Fabrics. And I think I'm going to do it kind of shorter, hip length maybe, and not that long. It's just not my style, and this is for me. It's really cute, though. I just feel like it's going to make me look short. Yeah, right, Michelle? I know. So it was Ray's idea to do these horizontal stripes, and that does add a lot, right? Yeah. There's 2 other versions of this in the hashtag, and one's solid navy. They both look great. I can't remember what the other one was, though. I mean, they do stripes on this one. Maybe that's why I pictured it when Ray did that. I was like, oh, I was picturing it that way. But there are stripes. They're just the opposite. They're vertical here, and horizontal the other way. Well, thanks. Big thanks to Hearts Fabric and Decades of Style for sending it to us. We always like these Decades of Style patterns. This is our 3rd one, right? The butterfly blouse, that blouse she told me, that's one. And we did the apron. So, yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that's it for today, you guys. So I will see you Wednesday. We'll be cutting out the Annie cardigan. I have a feeling that that's a part one sewing stream only. So we'll figure out what we do next Saturday. Maybe we do something spontaneous. So her head looks kind of big for her body. Yeah, I think you're right. She's got a girdle on. It's just, she's lean, long and lean. Look at her little gloves and her clutch. Yeah. All right, you guys, have a great weekend. I saw you a lot this week, so it's going to be weird to not see you till Wednesday now. We're making it for last time, aren't we? Thanks again for all the support, all the new Patreon. You guys adjusted some of your tiers. I did not expect that. That was really awesome. Thank you. And I'll get to some of you about that Zoom time. So I did, Ray. That's awesome. You saw it. Exactly. You were like, oh, that's what's supposed to happen. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Totally. What do you guys think this fabric would be good in? Michelle. Because I kind of want some of it, but I'm not sure what I would want it as. I wonder if it would look good on me. I feel like it's too gray. But I love it. Oh, of course, Michelle. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it very much. It's nice to have you guys here. Yeah, it's cute. I like the fabric too. All right. Have a good weekend. I'll see you guys soon, and happy sewing.